The boardroom was silent, except for the clicking of expensive watches and the muffled hum of the city below. Sunlight spilled across the polished wooden table where 5 men in tailored suits sat, laughter simmering between them. Behind them hung a massive red and gold emblem, the symbol of their success, their empire, their pride. And standing quietly by the door was her, a young girl, maybe 16, skin dark as midnight, apron stained with the traces of cleaning. Her hands trembled slightly as she held a tray of teacups. She didn't belong in a place like this, at least not in their eyes. "Hey, careful, girl," barked one of the assistants when she almost dropped a cup. "Sorry, sir," she murmured, keeping her eyes down. Her voice was soft, controlled, but there was something there. A kind of quiet grace that didn't fit her rough clothes. At the head of the table sat Mr. Liang, the billionaire chairman, tall, charming, and proud. The kind of man who thought money made him invincible. Beside him were his partners, all laughing at some joke he'd just cracked. And then the girl made a small mistake. She placed one of the teacups slightly off-center. Mr. Liang noticed. He frowned, turned to his assistant. "Who hired her? Where's she from?" "She's the new janitor's daughter, sir," the assistant replied quickly. "She helps after school. Doesn't speak much English." Mr. Liang smirked, shaking his head. "Oh, really? A child cleaner in my boardroom?" The other men chuckled. "Times must be hard, huh, Chairman?" one of them teased. "Very," Liang said with mock pity. "But hey, maybe she'll learn something useful, like how to serve tea properly." The girl froze for a second, but she didn't look up. She didn't defend herself. She just adjusted the cup quietly and moved to the next man. Then, in that thick silence, one of the younger executives, Daniel, decided to add fuel to the fire. "Chairman, you know what's funny? We're supposed to meet a Chinese translator today for the Shanghai deal, right?" "Mm-hmm," Liang said, swirling his cup. "Well, the translator called in sick." Daniel grinned. "Maybe she can do it. Let's see if she even knows what we're talking about." Laughter erupted. The girl stopped mid-step. Mr. Liang leaned back, amused. "Oh, that's a good one, Daniel." He looked at the girl. "Hey, you, what's your name?" She hesitated. "Amala," she whispered. "What?" "It means beautiful one, sir," she said softly. "Oh, well, aren't you poetic?" Liang mocked. "Tell me, Amale, if you can translate what I'm about to say, I'll give your mother my job for a day." The room burst into laughter again. But Amala didn't laugh. She stood still, her dark eyes lifting for the first time. "Go ahead," she said quietly. Liang blinked, then smirked. "All right, then. Let's see what you've got." He turned to the men, muttering something rapid and complex in Mandarin, full of idioms and business jargon. It was meant to confuse her. It was meant to humiliate. When he finished, the men leaned back, smirking. Amali didn't blink. She looked straight at him and said, in perfect Mandarin, clear, fluent, elegant, 您说您人为人只凭外表就能判断戒指，但有时候最安静的人心中藏着最大的力量。You said that you believe a person's worth can be seen from how they look, but sometimes the quietest soul carries the greatest power. The room went dead silent. Mr. Liang froze. His smirk faded slowly. Daniel's jaw dropped. One of the men even spilled his tea. Amali looked at them all, not angry, not proud, just calm. "My mother taught me Mandarin," she said softly. "She worked for a Chinese family before she got sick. I used to listen while she cleaned the floor beside their children's tutor." Liang's throat tightened. Something in his chest shifted. He opened his mouth, but no sound came out. Then Amale added quietly, "And you shouldn't offer people's dignity as part of a joke, sir, even if you're rich." The silence lasted too long. And in that silence, the laughter that filled this room every morning finally died. For the first time, Mr. Liang didn't feel powerful. He felt small. He looked down at his hands, the same hands that built an empire, now trembling ever so slightly. His gaze lifted to the girl again, standing tall despite the stains on her apron. He swallowed hard. "Where is your mother now?" he asked, his voice quieter now. Amale hesitated. "She's home. Sick. I just work here after school to buy her medicine." Liang leaned back, guilt softening his face. The men around him shifted awkwardly, staring at their papers, their shoes, anywhere but at the girl. Finally, Liang said, "Go home early today, Amale." She nodded once, gathered the empty tray, and turned to leave. As the door closed behind her, the boardroom fell into an uneasy silence. No one spoke. No one laughed. Mr. Liang stared at the golden emblem on the wall, his family name shining above all others, and for the first time, it didn't make him proud. It made him wonder. He looked at Daniel. "Find out where she lives." Outside, Amale stepped into the sunlight. Her reflection shimmered faintly in the glass door. A girl who had just changed something far bigger than she realized. Her mother's words echoed in her mind. "People may not see your worth right away, Amale, but the world always listens to truth, no matter what language it's spoken in." She smiled faintly. She didn't know what would happen next, but something told her her life was about to change. The afternoon sun slanted across the city skyline, painting the glass towers in gold. Inside his black car, Mr. Liang sat in silence. The laughter that had filled his morning was gone, replaced by the soft hum of the engine and a heavy weight in his chest. He kept replaying the moment, that young girl's calm, flawless Mandarin, the look in her eyes when she said, "You shouldn't offer people's dignity as part of a joke." Those words cut deeper than he expected. "Sir?" the driver asked softly. "Should we head back to the office?" Liang stared out the window. "No. Take me to her address. The girl, Amale." The driver blinked. "The cleaner's daughter, sir?" "Yes." His voice left no room for questions. The car wound through narrow streets until the city's glass and marble faded into old brick buildings and flickering streetlights. Children played barefoot, laughter echoing against cracked walls. It smelled of fried dough and warm rain. Liang stepped out, his polished shoes splashing in puddles. Heads turned. A man in a designer suit looked out of place here. He checked the address on his phone. A faded blue door with peeling paint. He hesitated, then knocked. After a moment, Amale opened the door, surprise flashing in her eyes. "Sir?" She wasn't wearing her apron now, just a simple sweater and jeans. She looked younger, more fragile, yet still carried that same calm strength. "May I come in?" Liang asked. She hesitated, then nodded quietly. Inside, the room was small but spotless. A few family photos on the wall, a kettle steaming softly on the stove. On a worn-out couch lay a woman, her mother, frail, with gentle eyes and a weak smile. Amale whispered, "Mama, this is my boss." Her mother tried to sit up. "Oh, the one from the big building?" she said kindly, her accent thick but warm. "Please, have a seat, sir." Liang removed his coat and bowed slightly, something he rarely did. "It's an honor, ma'am." The mother chuckled faintly. "Not many rich men say that when they visit us." Amale handed him a cup of tea. It was chipped, but the warmth felt different. Honest, human. He looked around. The apartment was tiny, yet everything was neatly arranged. Books stacked on a small shelf. Mandarin grammar, English for beginners, stories of Confucius. He picked one up, turning the pages. "You taught yourself?" Amale nodded. "Yes. My mother used to work for a Chinese family. When she got sick, I studied her old books so I could help her talk to doctors and maybe get a better job one day." Her mother smiled proudly. "She's my little teacher." Something inside Liang broke open. He sat quietly for a long moment before saying softly, "I owe you both an apology." The mother frowned slightly. "For what, sir?" "For being blind," he said. I built a company that prides itself on global respect, but I couldn't see respect standing right in front of me. Amala's eyes softened. You don't have to apologize, sir. Yes, I do, he said firmly, because what I did wasn't just rude, it was cruel. The mother reached out, her thin hand resting over his. Sometimes life gives us mirrors in unexpected places, she said kindly. Maybe you saw something in my daughter that reminded you of yourself when you were young. Liang looked at her, the kindness in her voice despite her pain, and felt something he hadn't felt in years, humility. He cleared his throat. Amale, would you and your mother come to my company tomorrow? I have something to discuss. Amale frowned slightly. About my job? Liang smiled faintly, something like that. The next morning, the boardroom felt different. The same golden emblem glowed on the wall, but the laughter was gone. The executives sat nervously, whispering. Daniel leaned over to a colleague. Why did he ask us all to gather again? Before anyone could answer, the doors opened. Amale and her mother entered. The men went silent. Liang stood from his chair. Gentlemen, meet our new translator and cultural liaison, Miss Amale Ndlovu. Gasps filled the room. Daniel almost choked on his coffee. Wait, what? He whispered. Liang continued, voice steady. Yesterday, I learned that intelligence doesn't wear suits. It wears courage. It wears humility. And this young woman has more of both than most of us combined. Amale looked overwhelmed. Sir, I'm not sure I can... Liang raised a hand gently. You can. You already did. You reminded me what leadership truly means. Her mother's eyes shimmered with tears. Thank you, Mr. Liang, she whispered. He smiled softly. Don't thank me. Thank your daughter. She reminded me that real power is not how loud you speak, but how deeply you listen. Later, as everyone applauded, Daniel stepped forward awkwardly. Amale, I'm sorry for laughing yesterday. She smiled gently. It's okay. Sometimes people laugh before they understand. He nodded, eyes down. Well, I understand now. Liang looked around the room, feeling something new in the air. Not pride, not control, but respect. For the first time, the emblem behind him didn't feel like a symbol of wealth. It felt like a promise. That evening, Amale and her mother stood on the rooftop of the company building. The city glowed beneath them, endless lights stretching into the night. Amale whispered, Mama, do you think Dad would be proud? Her mother smiled, brushing a tear from her cheek. He'd be smiling right now. You changed people's hearts today. Below, Mr. Liang watched from his office window. The girl who once stood silently by the door now stood above his world, and somehow she made it brighter. He whispered to himself, sometimes the smallest voice carries the loudest truth. The following weeks changed everything. Amale wasn't just the company's translator. She became its quiet heartbeat. She arrived early, stayed late, and treated every task, no matter how small, like it mattered. Her voice, calm yet confident, filled the once proud boardroom with something it had never truly known before: humility. Even the executives who once laughed at her now listened when she spoke. They started greeting the cleaning staff by name. The laughter in the building returned. But this time, it wasn't cruel. It was kind. One morning, as sunlight streamed through the tall glass windows, Mr. Liang stood by the city view, phone pressed to his ear. His voice was low, serious. What do you mean the Shanghai investors want to back out? He turned sharply. No. Tell them we'll send the new proposal in Mandarin within the hour. He hung up, rubbing his forehead. This deal is the lifeline of our new expansion, he muttered. Daniel looked nervous. But sir, the translator we usually hire for those proposals is still sick. We don't have anyone who can... Before he could finish, Amale stepped forward from the corner, holding a folder. "Sir, if you trust me, I can translate it." The room went silent. Liang turned to her. "Amale, this is a multi-million-dollar contract. If we make a single mistake, we lose everything." She met his eyes steadily. "Then let's not make one." Her calm confidence silenced every doubt. Minutes later, she sat at the head of the table, the same spot where she once stood being laughed at, and began to work. Her pen moved quickly, translating line after line, her focus unbroken. Every stroke carried grace and precision. Her Mandarin flowed like water, her English sharp and clear. As she read aloud the translated proposal, Liang watched her, not as a superior, but as a student learning from someone wiser. When she finished, the room erupted in stunned applause. Liang smiled. "Send it," he said. 2 hours later, a call came through. Liang answered with held breath. A deep voice on the other end said, in Mandarin, "Your proposal was perfect. We're in." The room exploded in cheers. Daniel jumped up, laughing. "We did it! She did it!" Amale exhaled, finally smiling. Liang hung up slowly, turned to her, and said, voice thick with pride, "Amale, you just saved this company." She shook her head gently. "No, sir. You saved it, when you decided to listen." He paused, and then laughed softly, genuine this time. "You're going to put me out of a job someday?" She smiled. "You promised that to my mother once, remember?" He laughed again, remembering that cruel joke turned prophecy. "And you made it real." That evening, the company held a small celebration. The boardroom was filled with warmth and light, not from chandeliers, but from laughter that felt pure. The same golden emblem gleamed on the wall, but now it symbolized something new. Respect, unity, change. Liang stood at the front, raising a glass. To Amale, who reminded us that greatness has no uniform and wisdom has no color. Applause filled the room. Some eyes shined with tears. Amale's mother sat quietly in the back, watching her daughter being honored in a place where she was once invisible. Liang walked over, bowing slightly before her. "Ma'am, your daughter taught me more than any business school ever could." Her mother smiled. "Sometimes life sends the right teacher when the student is finally ready." He nodded, humbled. "You're right." Later that night, after the celebration ended, Amale stood alone in the boardroom, looking out at the glowing city. She touched the edge of the long table, the place where she once stood trembling under laughter. Now, it felt like a memory from another lifetime. Mr. Liang joined her quietly. "It's strange, isn't it?" he said softly. "The same room, but everything feels different." "Because people changed," she replied. "Sometimes that's all it takes." He smiled, nodding. "I used to think being a leader meant speaking louder than everyone else. But you showed me? It means listening more than anyone else." They stood in silence for a moment, the city lights flickering like stars below. Then Amale said, "You know, sir, when I first came here, I was terrified. I thought people like you would never see me as more than a servant." He looked at her gently. "And now?" She smiled faintly. "Now I see that kindness can live anywhere, even in the heart of the people who once hurt you." Liang's eyes softened. "You're right, and I promise you, no one will ever be laughed at in this building again." She nodded, and for the first time, he bowed to her. Months later, a new plaque hung on the wall near the company's entrance. It read, "Respect is the language every heart understands." Beneath it, a small inscription, inspired by Amale. Visitors would stop and ask who she was, and the employees would smile and say, "The girl who changed the way we see people." And somewhere in the city, Amale walked home beside her mother, carrying a small bag of groceries. Her mother smiled, weak but proud. "You changed their world, my child." Amale shook her head. "No, Mama. I just spoke in the only language I knew. Kindness." They crossed the street under a flickering light, the city humming softly around them. The night air was cool, filled with hope. Proof that one person's courage could shift even the coldest hearts. In a world that often measures worth by wealth, remember, sometimes the person you overlook is the one who'll teach you what true richness means. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, Black Saga, for more powerful real-life stories that inspire change. Tell us in the comments, which moment moved you the most? Like this video, share it with someone who needs hope today, and let us know where in the world you're watching from.